smirk, a shaved head, and sunken eyes behind glass. Nick Reiner, the son accused of brutally murdering Hollywood legend Rob Reiner and his wife, Michele Singer Reiner, walked into a Los Angeles courtroom this week and left behind more questions than answers. But it wasn't just his demeanor that stunned the room. Moments before his arraignment was supposed to begin, Reiner's high-profile defense attorney abruptly quit the case, throwing the entire legal battle into chaos. Here's what happened inside that courtroom, why it matters, and how this case may be heading toward a very different ending than many expected. Nick Reiner appeared Wednesday morning at the Clara Shortridge Foltz Criminal Justice Center in downtown Los Angeles. The 32-year-old stood shackled behind a glass partition, wearing a brown, jail-issued jumpsuit. His head was shaved, his face gaunt, his eyes hollow. Reporters inside the courtroom noted Reiner repeatedly darting his gaze toward the gallery, scanning the media, the lawyers, the room. At times, he appeared exhausted. At others, unsettlingly calm. Then came the moment that made headlines. Witnesses say Reiner smirked, but one that rippled through the courtroom, igniting outrage and speculation online. But the most dramatic moment didn't come from Reiner himself. It came from his attorney, Alan Jackson, the high-powered criminal defense lawyer who had been steering the case from the start, stood up and addressed the judge.
Your Honor, at this time, I, on behalf of Workman Jackson and Quinn, and with Mr. Reiner's understanding and consent, would ask to withdraw as counsel of record based on the conversation that we've had in chambers and the explanation that we've provided to the court in chambers. We feel that we have no choice at this juncture but to withdraw as counsel and ask to be relieved.
And just like that, Jackson was out. No detailed explanation, the arraignment was delayed yet again, and suddenly one of the most high-profile murder cases in Los Angeles was left without its star defense. Public defender Kimberly Green was appointed on the spot. Reiner's new arraignment date, February 23rd. When asked if he agreed, Reiner responded quietly, "I agree with that," and then he was escorted out of the courtroom. This wasn't just a procedural hiccup. Alan Jackson is known for handling cases where everything is on the line, including potential death penalty trials. His sudden withdrawal raises critical questions. Was there a breakdown between attorney and client? Did disagreements over mental health defenses surface? Or did new evidence complicate the strategy?
This morning, I had to withdraw as Nick Reiner's counsel. Circumstances beyond our control, but more importantly, circumstances beyond Nick's control, have dictated that, sadly, it's made it impossible for us to continue our representation of Nick. And you can take this to the bank, is that pursuant to the laws of this state, pursuant to the law in California, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder. Print that. Print that.
To understand how we got here, you have to rewind. The night before Rob and Michele Reiner were found dead, sources say Rob had a heated argument with Nick at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party. Witnesses described tension and raised voices in the uncomfortable scene. Less than 24 hours later, 78-year-old Rob Reiner and his 70-year-old wife, Michele Singer Reiner, were found stabbed to death inside their Brentwood home. Nick, who had been living in the guest house on the property, was arrested hours later. Authorities allege the killings happened in the early morning hours of December 14. A motive has still not been publicly detailed. As was reported before, Nick Reiner's mental health history is now central to this case. Police records show multiple 911 calls to the Reiner home years before the killings, including welfare checks and mental health-related calls. Reiner had been reportedly diagnosed with schizophrenia and was being treated with medication. Nick was initially placed on suicide watch after his arrest and housed in high observation housing at Twin Towers Correctional Facility. Though he's since been removed from suicide watch, he remains isolated, monitored, and under mental health supervision. Legal analysts say this history could dramatically reshape how this case ends.
We are fully confident that a jury will convict Nick Reiner beyond a reasonable doubt of the brutal murders of his parents, Rob Reiner and Michele Singer Reiner, and do so.
If Reiner is found not guilty by reason of insanity, he could be committed to a state mental hospital instead of prison, with the possibility, however remote, of future release. That possibility is exactly what makes this case so volatile.